Ah yes, Rouge. Everyone's favorite Sonic character. For all the wrong reasons. But we're not going to be talking about that today because I don't want to lose my sanity. Rouge the Bat is easily, without a single doubt in my mind, the least played character in the entirety of Sonic.exe The Disaster, and as far as I'm concerned, she has been the least played character since the days of 1.0, but I know that she's been in the game for longer than that, so there's a very good chance that most likely, she's been least played for even longer. Now, I've always kind of wondered why exactly. Because while it does not take a scientist to determine that she is the least played, it is a little bit confusing to me why she is the least played. Now, at first I thought it was a very simple reason. I'm not a big fan of Rouge. I don't play her very often. But when I do play her, I actually really enjoy her. It's one of those things to where it's sort of just there, and you do like it when you do use her, but most of the time you're not going to actively choose to use her. Rather, you just occasionally use her and you realize she's actually fun. And that's the thing, is that if everybody else shared the same sentiment as me, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's just I'm not a big fan of her playstyle. But the thing is that every aspect of her playstyle is actually something that is shared among the playstyle of another character that's popular. Oh, she has a lot of different abilities, and she has different ways of using them, and they're all complex in their own way. Well, Amy's also popular, and she does the same thing. Oh, well, she is a very much a one-trick pony and a very passive character. Well, I would say that Cream is even more of a passive character, because she has one ability that does one single thing, and she is very vulnerable to everything around her. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe it's because Rouge is hard, but Tails exists. All three of these characters are some of the most played in the entire game, and they share bits and pieces of Rouge's playstyle and the way that you play her overall. Yet, she is one of the least played characters in the entirety of the game, and it's no contest. And that just confuses me so much, because why? Why is she the least played? You know, I could understand it if, like, she was super incredibly difficult and everything in her kit required the utmost precision and timing, but the truth of the matter is that she has a lot of leadway to make mistakes compared to other characters in the game. I mean, giving iframes to her as well as a form of self-defense while also giving her a way to help the team, both by stunning the enemy and showing them where they are. I'm just saying, you got a lot of ways to stop yourself from accidentally screwing yourself over, as well as you have a lot of ways to defend yourself. Hell, you can even use Remote Trap to defend yourself, you just need to be smart about it. Not to mention the fact that Rouge herself has no legitimate counter. There's no ability that the enemy can press to just immediately deal with any and all of their problems. That's not a thing. Neither one of her abilities are blockable, and really the only way that you can actually successfully deal with her is just straight up ignoring her. But of course, it can be really difficult to ignore her, especially considering the fact that she can block off entire entrances with her Remote Trap, meaning that you have to force your way through her. And if the person playing her even knows a fraction of what they're actually doing, it can be really, really difficult to actually defeat them. Because like I said, she's got 3 separate ways to defend herself, all of which have their own separate cooldowns, and all of which have varying cooldowns. And she's a support character with that much leadway to make a mistake, only to fix it. Like Cream, you have your speed boost and that's it. With Tails, you got your arm cannon, that's it. Even Silver only has 1 stun. And yet, despite all of this, those characters are more played than Rouge, a character with 2 ways to defend herself, one of which is a little bit more difficult but still possible. And the other is just straight up incredibly frustrating to fight against. I feel like it's also worth mentioning the fact that her abilities actually combo really well with each other. Like, just about every single one of them combos with another one in some way, and it feels so satisfying to pull it off. Like, I don't understand what was going through Out's brain when he decided that buffing Flashbang was a good idea. It was fine the way it was. I didn't think anybody was complaining about it. And clearly, the buff didn't matter because nobody still plays her. She's just one of those characters. You could give her the ability to use a regular gun. Nobody would want to play her. And I still don't really understand why. Or at least, I thought I didn't. You see, while I was recording background footage for Rouge, there were a couple of little more things here and there that I learned overall. Things that I made sure to keep in my back pocket for when I made the video. And I realized that the reason, or at least possibly the reason, that nobody really likes to play her is the teammate reliance. Let me explain. So when a Cream player heals a Knuckles, they are putting faith in that Knuckles to use the heals for good. They are using it to save teammates and to waste Sonic's time by having him have to hit an enemy more than he normally would. And doing this wastes time. Now, let's move on to another character, Eggman. Eggman has the ability to attack from a distance, and his turrets also have the ability to attack from a distance, albeit significantly shorter than the Zapper. This allows him to not need to get up close and personal to the enemy, and allows him to provide cover from a safe distance. Now, take a moment to think about all the different ways that other support characters help their teams, and compare it to Rouge. So you have Eggman, Sally, Cream, Silver and Rouge, all that stuff. Now, take a moment to think about all the different ways that they assist their teammates. When it comes to Cream and Sally, you can reposition yourself to help your team, which makes it so that way you can help them more on a whim, giving them exactly what they need to allow them to take another hit. And with Robotnik, while it can be difficult to reposition, I would say even more difficult than Rouge at times, ultimately, he can still get around pretty easily, and he's got quite a lot of leadway, because all of his abilities are ranged. And then with Silver, Speed Boost and Orb and all that jazz, it's kind of funny, the one ability in this kit that's actually seen as super mediocre is the one to where you have to be standing right next to the enemy, which is the same problem that Rouge suffers from. But in order for Rouge to be at her best, she needs her teammates and the enemy to stand exactly where she wants them to stand, which can be a little difficult, because in order for her to work her best, her teammates need to walk over every sensor and mine that you place, and your teammates also need to be standing right next to you if you want to use your flashbang to help them. No one else suffers from this in the entire game except for Eggman, and even then, Eggman's sentries can hit the enemy at a distance. Rouge's sensors and her bombs, you need to be standing right next to them in order to actually be affected by them, which oftentimes makes it so that way, like I said, you need to go exactly where the mine is or where the sensor is if you want it to be effective. If you want to help out your Rouge, you need to follow the enemy into a sensor or the mine, which oftentimes doesn't happen in public lobbies. And like I said, no other support character suffers from this, and because of that, this often means that nobody really likes to play her. Like Cream and Sally, they can reposition to the whims of their teammates to help them out. And while Eggman, like I said, has more trouble doing that, he still can do it. Albeit, in some cases, he's better than Rouge at it, in some cases, he's worse than Rouge at repositioning. Oftentimes, he's worse, but the problem is that, while he's bad at repositioning, Rouge needs to position in very specific places. And that's things that no other support character suffers from this. And because of that, that is the reason why I believe Rouge is the least played. Because while she can be good on her own, and she generally is really good, she relies on her teammates to be her best. And because of that, because of how much reliability comes with your teammates, and the fact that she's a little bit more of a passive character, nobody really likes to play her. Because Cream is a passive character, but everybody loves to play her. So it just doesn't really make any sense if it's something else besides what I've been talking about this whole time. To be honest, if it's another reason that has absolutely nothing to do with what I was just talking about, I genuinely don't know what it could be. Which is why I'm going to be making a Let's Play of her. So you may have noticed that this video is actually split up into 3 separate parts: the actual analysis itself, the Let's Play, and of course, where we are right now, the tips. And that's because I genuinely can't think of too much to give to Rouge. She's really good, and of course there are multiple reasons why I believe she's really good, but nobody plays her. Myself included, as I sometimes don't play her that often, but I still do play her enough to learn tips here and there. So it's just, if what I was talking about earlier is actually not the reason why nobody plays her, then I'm generally at a loss for words, because I can't actually think of anything else that it could be. Which is one of the 2 reasons why I decided to make this video, so that way hopefully I'll have some Rouge mains in my comment section, as well as people that played Rouge but don't really like her too much, so that hopefully I'll come closer to understanding why nobody plays her. But now that I've said my piece about Rouge, I would now like to talk about some tips, things I've learned over time that have made me better whenever I've played Rouge. Little things here and there that I've picked up while playing her, so that way I can become better at her. And hopefully, these tips may make you a better Rouge player. Special thanks to this commenter for suggesting that I do this, even though I'm not really a Rouge main myself, as stated before, and I don't have too much advice to give. There are a couple of little things that I can add that I feel like would make the lives of some people easier for understanding her. So let's go over some of them. Tip number 1. Sometimes it's a good idea to actually place the mine on top, where the spring will take the player, rather than where the spring actually is. The reason for this is because typically experienced players will catch on to your shenanigans, and they'll be able to see the mine and bypass it by going onto a ladder or just using fly. If you place it on top, oftentimes more experienced players can't actually see the bomb itself. This is significantly more tricky to do, but it can reap good rewards if you manage to pull it off. Although, it being significantly more tricky means that you're less likely able to do it. It entirely depends on the enemy player's skill though, because if they're not that good, there's no reason to place it on the top where the spring will take the player, and instead place it more towards the bottom. Remember, it's entirely based on whatever type of player you're fighting. Tip number 2. Just about every ability in your kit can combo with each other. These abilities are specifically as followed. You have, of course, the simple trick of slide and flashbang, but you also have more complex ones, like slide and remote trap. However, these ones pale in comparison to flashbang and remote trap. Oftentimes, it's a good idea to actually use remote trap after you've flashed an enemy, so that way you can give yourself more time, because its main weakness is placing it down. So if you flash the enemy, immediately consider placing it down. Now, the reason why I consider this is often because when you're being attacked, and if you're doing a solo and or you're the last person left, you can be put in a very sticky situation. Oftentimes, this will lead you to being very vulnerable. So most of the time, it's a good idea to actually use both of them at the same time, but only if you're the last one alive or the enemy is coming straight for you. Otherwise, most of the time, it's a good idea not to. You can also combo sensor and slide together by placing down sensor near a ledge and then sliding in the exact opposite direction by changing your camera direction quickly. The enemy will think that you're in a false state of security because you tried placing down a sensor, and will instead immediately go for you, only for them to fall off the map. Well, not the map, but the ledge, you get what I mean. Tip number 4, try to incorporate more juking with your flashbang. Because of the massive buff that it received, it's actually really easy to land hits with it if you juke. Don't immediately slide and then throw it down, or don't just throw it down. If the enemy is skilled enough, then juke, then throw it down, and they'll often get hit. Tip number 5, do not be worried about using your sensors selfishly for the beginning of the round. As long as you don't place them all down in the same spot, then as far as I'm concerned, you're not really using them selfishly. Placing them down, usually at the beginning of the match in certain specific places, will make it so that way if the enemy goes specifically for you first and you have no teammates, they can actually save you or maybe just get to you faster than they would if you were to get hit and then you would be discovered. But yeah, as long as you don't use all of them at once, you should be allowed to use a couple of them for yourself at the beginning of the match. Tip number 6. Now I know that what I'm about to say sounds crazy, but it's actually worked in my favor quite a few times, and that is to place the sensors down while you're juking out the enemy. Oftentimes the enemy doesn't expect you to do this, and it can make it so that way ranged characters can see you at a distance and help you. Oftentimes, a ranged character will have to get relatively close depending on the map, and depending on the map gimmicks, and so on and so forth, making it so that way that they can have a hard time seeing you, getting to you, and such. Oftentimes, this can lead to scenarios where you're in danger and nobody really knows where you are, and placing this down allows for teammates to help you quickly, get to you faster. It allows ranged characters to help you at a distance by constantly placing down sensors that the enemy trips, things like that. Tip number 7. Sometimes it's actually a good idea, depending on who you're fighting against, to save your abilities until a moment to where they can actually come in most handy. Oftentimes when juking or jumping off of something, sort of like what I did earlier in the video, like 30 seconds ago I think, where I jumped and then slid, oftentimes the enemy would think I'm in a vulnerable state and be able to land an easy hit on me, but because I decided to instead juke a little bit, then slide, he wasn't able to hit me. And as for flashbang, that one's a little bit more of a complex issue, but it can work in your favor sometimes. So the specific scenario that I'm talking about is the scenario where the enemy themselves is high up and you're down below, and the reason you're down below is because you jumped down and the enemy's going to follow you down. As the enemy follows you down, they think that they have the advantage over you. They think that they're going to be able to land an easy hit, and oftentimes when players are in the air in this game, apart from Tales Dolls players, they are oftentimes very vulnerable. This leads to quite a few scenarios where you actually can take advantage of this, and because of being able to take advantage of this, you should take advantage of this. Since, players will try to market garden you instead of actually landing, then using an attack, you should use their cockiness for market gardening you as an advantage to instead ensure your safety. By using slide and flashbang together while the enemy is jumping down to attack you, it's almost impossible to dodge, and I've encountered this as well as done this multiple times, and it works 9 times out of 10. So if the enemy is chasing you and you are on a ledge, jump down from that ledge. Do not use either one of your abilities, and the moment they jump down, slide and then flashbang. Or maybe do it the other way around, flashbang then slide. Either way, it usually works for me. Tip number 8, do not, and I repeat, do not follow Out's advice. He may be a great game developer, but he is terrible at giving advice for his own game. And the reason for this is because he suggests to use the advantage of Rouge being able to toss her flashbang grenade from high spaces, and you should be doing that often, and how it's actually good to do that often. In most cases, and by most I mean literally every case I've ever encountered, this is never a good idea. Because there's multiple reasons why. For starters, when you drop the flashbang from any height that isn't the normal height, aka Rouge sitting on the ground, it actually takes significantly longer to activate. Now it already has a pretty noticeable activation time period that allows more experienced players and even some intermediate players to dodge and avoid. It's not the most powerful ability, but it can be really annoying, and it does offer a lot of leadway. But by throwing the flashbang on the ground, you oftentimes have it much harder. And what's even worse is that you cannot drop it from large heights. You can drop it from heights, aka Basically, right next to that bridge, right there to my right, is basically how high you can drop the thing. It will physically not allow you to drop it from a height that's any bigger than that. Tip number 9, try actually hiding from the enemy after you use your flashbang. Don't just stand out in the open or run to a safety spot, actually try to hide. And finally, tip number 10, try and find more creative ways to help out your team, like flashing the enemy every time they get stunned and being super aggressive, and also placing down mines on top of Eggman's turrets. Oftentimes, players won't notice it if you place it directly on top of the turret, which often leads to them getting pushed back, saving the turret and buying your teammates more time. Also, fun bonus tip that I learned recently, did you know that the flashbang can go through walls? But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Rouge the Bat. Despite her complexities, her strengths, and her weaknesses, she's generally a very well-rounded character, and can at times be super annoying. And despite that, I rarely see anyone play her. Hell, I even see people making fun of Rouge mains for not existing in the first place, which is kind of funny all things considered. That's just how uncommon Rouge mains are. And I get that she was really bad in 1.0 and probably all but before that, but she had her moments in 1.1 where she started to be a little good, but that's pretty much everything I have to say about Rouge. She's really good, at times she can be fun, but I can understand why she's not for everybody. At the same time though, it's generally confusing and super surprising why rarely anyone plays her, especially if what I said about her isn't actually true, and that's not the reason why a ton of people play her. If it isn't, then, I mean, I'm really at a loss for words at what it could be, because it could be anything, which is, once again, why I'm making this video, because there's no way for anybody else to know unless I actually get some insight. The best way to get insight is to, of course, talk about things like this. But anyways, now that I'm done talking about it, let's actually move on to the third part of this video, the Let's Play. Now, I'm a serviceable Rouge player at best. I can do really bad sometimes and do really good other times, and I think it, for the most part, requires the skill of whatever enemy I'm going against, because, like I said, I'm not a Rouge main, and I probably never will be, despite finding her fun. To be honest, when it comes to support characters, I enjoy Silver more because he can be significantly more aggressive, and it's significantly easier for him to be more aggressive. But with all that being said, let's actually get into the Let's Play now, shall we? Call me crazy, but I really think that they should just make it to where you always zoom out. You start zoomed out instead of having to zoom out yourself. Because who plays the game zoomed in, unless you're like a Tales player or something? No, too far away. Too far away for that. Of course, I just had to do that now. Okay, I'm just gonna place it back here. It's most likely we will be fighting anyways. There we go. Best thing about playing Rouge aggressively, it's so easy to land hits that way. At the same time, she can feel like a waiting simulator. You know, apart from the really experienced players, I rarely ever have anyone that actually dodges my bombs. That's just how underused she is, that, like, you have to be, like, really, really good at the game for people to even consider actually, like, trying to learn how to fight against them. Ah man, things are just getting worse. did not mean to press the explosion button. I shouldn't have taken such a huge break from this game. Okay, back this way. There we go. Anything you can do to waste time, do it. I swear to God, Amy, do not bring Metal down to the 2-shot range. Come on, this way, this way, this way, this way. There we go. Ow. Amy, you piece of shit. It's not my fault you died early. I can't even explain that one. Nice shot, Tails. Jumping in. Phew, that was close. Back again to the normal. Thank goodness. Why did I do that? Why? Why are you doing that, Metal? What do you... Cream's in danger. Come on, come at me, come at me. Yeah, that's what I thought. And you know, in so many other scenarios, that would have hit me for some reason. But it didn't. Nah. Metal, why are you just standing there? Please don't tell me you're teaming. Please don't tell me that. Why'd you just try and kill yourself the fastest way possible? Something tells me this guy isn't very good at the game. Yeah. Metal's teaming. Second he becomes a minion, the first thing he does is try and kill other people. That's a very minion type thing to do. Specifically for teamers. Can we not, for just one day, not find any teamers or targeters in that check and stuff? Cream, what are you doing? Help us in some way, please. This is just gone, everything's gone terrible. I thought I could do this. Nope. Nope. And great. Just fucking great. Fucking great. Oh man. This poor Metal Sonic. Yeah, how is he supposed to stand any chance? Well, this is gonna go horrible. Just absolutely horrible. I don't see any possible way that this could go good. Good. Lure him back down here. Lure him back down here. Come on, lure him back down here. Dang it, I missed. Dang it, I missed. Ah, man. Nothing's going right. Oh, there's the second one. Oh, fuck! Screwed is putting it mildly. Come at me, dirtbags. Oh! Damn. Jump down here and help me, Knuckles. Ah, man. Yes. Now what? Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. Buy time. Buy as much time as necessary. Did he seriously just leave? Ah, so you're approaching me. You think you can best me? Think again. Get down! Damn it! Oh man, 3 Tails dolls. Great. Just what I needed. Then again, Rouge does oftentimes have it easier fighting the Tails doll. Nah. Well, the other ones. This one. Nah. Oh, so you both want to play, don't you? Oh, apparently he got them. Good. This is why sensors would be such a good thing to have. Nah. Whoops. There's just way too many. Way too much going on. For me to be able to handle it. Especially when you have... God! Especially when everything's sort of just happening all at once. Man, I'm really freaking out here. Where's my internet dying now? Well, at least I didn't die. Place sensors everywhere. Not one spot shall be left untouched. And preferably, maybe everybody doesn't split up this time. Oh, there he is. Nice shot.
Pain.
Come on, come on. Lure him away so I can do something. Good, good, good. Oh no, he's climbing up. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. He'll never know. Which is probably for the best. I believe in you, Eggman. Ah, man. Ah, man, Eggman. Dang it. You weren't supposed to do that. I don't even know how that didn't work. Keep placing sensors. Don't stop placing sensors. If you can see the enemy from every direction, that's a good thing. Come on, Eggman. Come on, Eggman. I believe in you. There we go. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Don't stop moving. That was very risky. A little too risky. But hey, I pulled it off. Thank you, Sally. Oh god, Sally, you're gonna die. Not that I have anything to say about it. You know, call me crazy, maybe you should focus on me a little bit more. Because if you keep giving me these chances to set up these defenses, then you know, I'm just gonna keep defeating you. It's not rocket science. Sally, remember all those times I tried my best to help you? You wouldn't want to hit me again, would you? Thank God, just enough. Ow. At least one of us will be able to get out, but something tells me it isn't gonna be me. It might be. At least somebody got out. Someone that actually deserves to go. Ow. Tails, come on. I'm a little bit confused. What exactly dictates a trap? You mean the ones that I place down? Because as far as I can tell, I never see one being indicated. Well, that didn't work out the way I hoped it would. Get juked. Rouge, master of jukers. Worked out perfectly. You know, one thing I always see people do is that they just ignore Rouge players for some reason. Like, when it comes to being ignored, it's typically Rouge players, and then you got, like, the occasional... Ah, man. And then, of course, you got Tails. Tails either gets flat out ignored or targeted. There's never, like, an in-between. He either gets targeted, or he's just completely, entirely ignored. Believe it or not, I've actually been, like, completely ignored playing... Ow. Playing characters like Metal Sonic, of all things. There's a lot of reverse targeting in this game, unfortunately. This guy actually seems to be, like, switching targets to, you know, attack me, which is rare. People rarely ever get attacked when playing Rouge. Yeah, good idea. Let him come back this way. Nope. We're doing good, but we could be doing better. Man, Flashbang is just so overpowered. Keep throwing caution to the wind, something's bound to happen. I'm standing right here, dude. That's the thing, is that if you give a Rouge plenty of time to set up, she will absolutely destroy you. And because of how often people ignore Rouge players, most, if not every single time... Well, that was a fumble. Most, if not every single time, she will absolutely destroy you. Hey, Sally, Metal, you gonna do something? Well, I tried. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm gonna put one right here. They'll never notice. Guess I didn't get the chance to use it. Well, anyways, this was interesting to varying degrees of success. Kinda sucked, but I mean, hey, at least I had a little fun. So, thank you guys for watching, I guess. I'll see you in the next video.